They've got a different view about how to maintain their individual security. And what we're talking about in response to your comment, call the police, is that there is a window of imminent threats. It's recognized by our law of self-defense that says that the government's monopoly on violence is something that we create an exception to where you face...
Right, here's my response.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in this room, or very, very few people...
On legitimate violence.
The government's monopoly on violence?
Sure, the government
I'm not into violence.
No, the government has a monopoly on legitimate violence. The government can execute people, the government can imprison people, and when you go into a civilized society, the idea is that only the government can use violence, with the exception of self-defense.
Let me interrupt you. I think we're drifting slightly off the point, because here's my response. I think most people in this room have no issue with Americans having a gun at home to defend themselves. I come back, Scotty, to what I said earlier. What is the purpose and what is the need of an AR-15 which can have a magazine of 100 bullets? Nobody can give me any reason why a civilian needs that. And your explanation appears to be you fear a tyrannical government attacking you.
Because I have the right. That's my first explanation. I have the right. Hundreds of thousands of men and women for the last 250 years have died for me to have that right. And at this point, yes.
To have an AR-15?
To have any gun.
But why do you need an AR-15?
Because I do want to protect my family, and God forbid something happens in this country. Piers, we have $16 trillion in debt. Our economy is teetering. What would happen if our economy collapsed? Who's to say what will happen?
Piers.
Look at LA riots. Look at everything that happened. Like I said, we want to bring it to New Orleans. Things happen in this world.
There's reality check. We're not
No, this is reality check.
No, we're not back in the 18th century, right? George III is dead. And let me explain one other thing to you. If your government does turn tyrannical, they have 5,000 nuclear warheads at their disposal to come after you and your guns.
And
so let's wake up and smell the coffee, shall we?
If they want to drop a nuclear bomb
let me bring in James Fox. James Fox, you want to jump in?
That's just ludicrous.
Yeah, I just want to say we seem to be focusing too much just on AR-15s and assault weapons. Actually, a small percentage of homicides are committed with assault weapons.
Well, let me respond to that, because the reason that I've been focused on that in particular, I'm aware it's a small percentage of the killings in America, but the last 4 mass shootings in America, Aurora, the Oregon shopping mall, the terrible case of the firemen lured to their deaths just before Christmas, and then Sandy Hook. All of those have involved an AR-15. It's become the preferred weapon for mass shooters, and the reason is they are killing machines.
Mass shootings are not with assault weapons, actually.
I said the last 4.
They're with semi-automatic weapons, but not assault weapons. And during the assault weapons...
Well, what is an assault weapon?
Look at the band.
What is an assault weapon?
What happened when the band was going on?
With the greatest of respect to everybody here, especially you, Mr. Fox, the greatest respect, if a madman can go up to Sandy Hook Elementary School and in the space of a few minutes kill 20 children and 6 others, but the 20 kids were hit by between 3 and 11 bullets each, I'm sorry, that is an assault weapon.
Excuse me.
What else do you call it?
I agree, but the only thing, I think that's a broader problem, a broader issue. We can't just focus on the AR-15.
But nor can you dismiss it.
That's all I'm saying.
You said it yourself. You said a madman. That's the issue right now. We don't need to be dealing with the guns.
No,
we need to be dealing with... No, madman. He was going to do harm no matter what. Regardless of what gun he had.
Scotty, my question to you, why don't you make it as hard as possible for him to get his hands on it? Where did he get the guns from? His mother.
Irresponsible parenting.
Fine, well, that's not good enough. I'm sorry. Daniel Webster, let me bring you in here. Irresponsible parenting to me is not a way to try and tackle this problem. You don't say you've got to be better parents to try and stop an Adam Lanza.
Right, and I just want to respond to some of the comments earlier that I think are really off the mark. The idea that if they don't have a gun, they'll use something else. That's why we have a homicide rate in the United States that's 6 times higher than other high-income countries. It's not because we actually, our violent crime rates are not all that different. We don't have any real differences with mental health in terms of having more mentally ill people. We don't have kids who are more troubled or bullying or depressed. We have more guns, and that's why we have more homicides.
Actually,
exactly
sir,
right.
We have number 1 in the U.S. Yes, we have more guns. 88 guns per 100 people. There's no doubt about that. But we are ranked number 28 in the world on actual homicides, behind Honduras, Jamaica, and El Salvador. And it is because we allow the good people to be able to defend themselves. That's the real reason.
Your answer,
Has nothing to do with the
I'll
other
let the mayor respond.
day-to-day activities.
This argument, Mr. Mayor, about the good
It's
people
ludicrous.
are apparently protecting America's position. I mean, the reality, and this is a reality check again. Take Britain, take Australia. Both had massacres. I've got a lady here from Dunblane in Scotland. 16 school children killed, aged 5 years old. It's a terrible tragedy. We brought in a national handgun ban, national assault weapon ban. Ever since then, the average number of gun murders in Britain has been between 30 and 60 ever since. Now, here's the point.
Your violent crime rate
I'm
is
not
through
disputing.
the roof. You're
I am
number
not.
one.
Scotty, let me finish. I'm not disputing Britain doesn't have a numerous elements of problems with knife crime and robberies and burglaries and all those things. But the thing we got right was gun crime. Australia found two things. Australia found two things. When they brought in their bans, they found that the murder rate came down, but also, significantly, so did the suicide rate. 18,000 Americans kill themselves with guns every year. The question is, how many would if they didn't have guns in their home?
They'd find something else. There's
I don't
other
think
ways
they
to
would.
commit
Pierce, you're
suicide.
actually, on
This has
the
nothing to do
suicide
with the
data, you
day-to-day
actually,
activity
that is the
goes on in
stronger, if you look at the data, the suicide data is the stronger argument here, because there is an indication that if you look at what happens with firearm suicides, that when young people attempt suicide, if they attempt it with a gun, their success rate is higher. Oftentimes you interview them afterwards, they don't have the gun, they survive, and they basically change their mind.
But I'm keen to try and keep the debate on an even keel. I mean, it's a passionate debate. Everybody gets emotional, and I respect both sides, and I totally respect the Second Amendment people who say, you know, you are breaching my rights. I get that's an argument that many, many Americans feel. Well, how do you convince them? This is not an attack on their rights.
It's not an attack on their rights, but citizens in our city and many cities across America are being attacked by criminals who have weapons, who shouldn't have them. There are a lot of weapons in cities all across the United States of America. And so this is about reasonable, common sense steps that can be taken to make sure that inappropriate folks don't have weapons in the first place and that our streets are safe. And so much of this discussion, quite honestly, and with every respect, and I'm sorry for your loss, has nothing to do with what goes on in most cities across the United States of America, trying to make sure people are safe.
But then explain to me how the cities with the strongest...
Following at me.
Explain to me how in the cities with the largest ban, the strongest rules are the ones with the highest crime rate. Chicago, California, the state. Your own city right now is kind of an issue with crime.
Wake up a moment. Chicago has strong gun control, but the states around it have weak gun control. Until you have a federal consistency, nothing will change.
Here, the Supreme Court acknowledged that when you look at the gun ownership rate in places where the rate is high versus the places where it's low, the high gun ownership rate is corresponding with lower gun crime.
What is indisputable is that America has 11 to 12,000 gun murders a year. Australia has mid-40s, Britain has 35, Japan has about 10. Let's come next to the debate from those hit hardest by family members of the victims of gun violence. Join our discussion.